Customizing model railroad steam locomotives, also known as scratch building or cross-kitting. This is the process of creating a unique model from assembling parts and substructures from other modeling sources. Now, I work in brass, a modeling activity sometimes called brass bashing. So in this video, I'll show the results of some brass steam locomotive projects. First, some personal modeling parameters. Models are HO scale. I don't have a layout, but they must run. I even like the sound of those open frame DC motors. I hate to paint. Models remain in natural brass. They don't have to exactly replicate a prototype. I'm not a rivet counter, but models must follow plausible real-life engineering principles. For example, steam chests must line up with smoke boxes, no steam whistles on sand domes, no electric generators on a loco with oil lamps. Well, you get the idea. Bill Shop, I think that's the way you pronounce his name, wrote many cross-kitting articles in Railroad Model Craftsman in the 1960s and eloquently discussed good modeling principles. Bill was quite a modeler and often criticized for taking expensive Japanese imports and brass bashing them into some crazy stuff. These old articles are well worth reading if you like customizing projects. Now let's look at some models. Probably the easiest customizing is by simply adding or removing a leading or trailing truck. After changing the domes and some other fittings, this 242 became an 042. Not an exact replica, but it definitely has the flavor of a known prototype. Now here, by replacing the pilot with steps, a Mikado has become an 082. Again, with true prototype influence. Conversely, one could add lead or trailing trucks. Here, with very little else, an 060 has become an 062. Penzi fans might balk at this, but why not assume this very beefy switcher got delegated to a light rail industrial branch line and needed the extra truck? Many of you will recognize the pedigree of this fanciful 240. Ken Kidder must have imported a zillion of them. I haven't made up my mind if it's really a 240 or a 240T plus tender. Similarly, the Vulcan 042T donor loco for this 242T should be familiar to many. Notice that it was backdated by additionally changing the domes, stack, and lamps. Again, there was a prototype for inspiration, and someday I might gather some old watch gears and model that winch on the pilot deck. Moving on to a much more difficult project, Los Angeles and San Pedro's little San Gabriel inspired the creation of this 220. A clever bit of model engineering was to use the drive from a Stephenson's rocket and change the polarity so that reverse became forward and vice versa. Even more scratch building was needed for the superstructure of this 240 inspection loco. No prototype was followed, but since such locos were almost always the homegrown creation of a railroad's mechanical department, I feel it captures the proper likeness. Here, most of the effort to create this 246T double-ender was building the 3-axle trailing truck from scratch. Another scratch-built trailing truck was made to fit under the firebox of a large mogul. thus creating a plausible 264. The tender is a Chemtron kit. Now this wheel arrangement never was used in North America, but was known globally as the Adriatic type. Bill Shop's article in the January 1969 issue of Railroad Model Craftsman was the inspiration I needed to turn a Tootsie roller, which was a very primitive early Japanese import, into a detailed 260T yard crane. Now here, a 440 basket case, which was missing its tender and tender drive, has become a 444T, very high class inspection loco. Yes, there was a prototype. I mostly brass bash steam locomotives because I think they are much more interesting when running. There are hybrid cases like steam coaches. I hope you agree that they are so much more appealing with that side rod motion. One of my more complicated projects was not influenced by a prototype at all, but by John Allen's Gorian defeated number 34. This never existed but plausible 410 is the subject of another YouTube video. Search for John Allen Tribute if you are interested. So this has showcased a baker's dozen of modeling projects. You choose whatever name best fits. Thanks for watching.